good evening to all you beautiful people, and welcome to the World of Football podcast on the Josh YouTube channel. Two World of Football podcast episodes in the space of 2 days, and one a quiz and one of the regular shows. How lucky is everyone to be blessed by situation content on your channels. So, on your screen, we've got my three beautiful guests. I have got Reese, Nathan, and making a return, a long-awaited return for Owen from the Couple Podcast to the World of Football Podcast. Absolutely delighted to have Owen back. It's been a month. It's not just been weeks. It's probably been half 6, 7 months since Owen was on the World of Football Podcast. Owen, welcome back to this beautiful show.
It's great to be back. Reese, I think there's loads of background noise on your mic.
One moment, it might be my other headphone.
Oh,
yeah, your mic sounds like Ready Brack, Reese.
It'll be in there. Is that better?
That's better, I guess.
I'll step back a little bit from my mic. How about that then? It's a little shit.
I mean, what were you doing? Were you recording some punk vocals before we went live?
No, I use this now for streaming.
Ooh. What is it?
It's a Toner TC30 mic, and it actually fits in my work bag.
Oh, class. It looks very good, very classy.
I recommend it for content creators. Funnily enough, unless you're an Xbox gamer, I don't recommend it because it's purposely not suited for Xbox, but it works for everything else. But it's generally really good, and it's only £38 on Amazon. This is the Plus version.
I think what you need to remind me. What's the name again?
It's called the Toner TC30 Plus.
Amazing. Great to know.
Really really good on Amazon as well. Really good.
Excellent stuff. And thanks, Josh, for having me back. You know, you're in the dark. You're there somewhere, but thank you.
So it's a pleasure to have you. And Ellie also said hi. Open has been a minute. It's been a minute, but this very quickly, this is something that I'm going to be trying to do. I'm going to be trying to bring back new weekly guests for all.
I don't know.
That was very weird.
Keep going.
Reese is here to disrupt the show as much as he possibly can.
I'm waiting for something. I'm waiting for something very specific from you, and Nathan knows what I'm waiting on.
Yes, bring it on.
Yeah, I'm owed something. I'm owed a public apology.
I did apologize to you in our
that doesn't count.
No, live on the stream, Josh.
That doesn't count. I want a public apology. You gave your word you would be on last night's quiz.
I was prepared. I initially had my complete setup ready to go for the quiz, and I legit did not leave work until 8:30. So blame McDonald's if you want to have a go at me for not turning up to that quiz yesterday.
But to be fair, you could have either asked to swap shift or you could have booked the day off.
I could have booked the day off, to be fair.
That as well, Hela, is actually one of several shocks I have actually got to discuss tonight. Gattuso did get sacked at Valencia this evening.
There's loads to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about.
There's no point going to Reese. Reese has already made his feelings perfectly
clear. Apart from that public apology, I'm generally in a good mood. I'm buzzing for tonight's show. There is a shitload to get through. Football-wise, there is a genuine lot to get through. And also, can I just say, Southampton have made the January transfer signing of the window. Not Mudryk to Chelsea. I genuinely think Dembele to Southampton is the transfer of the January transfer window.
I agree.
And over to Nathan. Nathan, obviously no card over the weekend, so your spirits are high as ever.
Oh, absolutely, and considering the fact that we're on our 4th manager of the season now as well, so how many more? They might as well just come in on a conveyor belt at this point, but Viva Sabri Lamucci, get him in the job. Also, Viva, the beautiful beast that is Sol Bambra as his assistant. Relegate Dean Whitehead down to coach in his 2 shocking games in charge. Just got to get the owners out now. Thanks for having me on.
So, I got kicked out of YouTube last night.
Oh, really? I wondered how you disappeared last night, because you were generally doing really well last night. It was such good fun. I was gutted that nobody could finish it, but we had a massively fun quiz last night, and there will be another one in 3 months' time.
So, before we move on to everything, obviously this weekend was the FA Cup weekend, so we're going to be basically going over a couple of the FA Cup ties. Before we do, I'm just going to quickly read out the FA Cup draw that has just taken place for the fifth round. Obviously, for anybody, just again a reminder, the fifth round is the rounds where no replays take place. Any games at this point will go extra time. There's loads of replays to be taking place. There's a lot of odds in this, but anyway. So the following draw is as follows. So Southampton will be at home to either Luton Town or Grimsby Town. Leicester City will be at home to Blackburn Rovers or Birmingham City. Stoke City hosts Brighton.
Yep.
Arsenal or Sheffield United will play Spurs. So Wrexham United have the one hosting Spurs. Fulham or Sunderland will play Leeds United.
That's right.
Bristol City will host Manchester City.
And we will play winner of West Ham Derby.
Which obviously is the game that takes place tonight. Kickoff is practically about a couple of minutes away.
I actually think spoiler. I think it's going to be Man United versus Derby.
And Ipswich or Burnley will play the winner of Sheffield United or Fleetwood Town. So let's get into a couple of the ties. Obviously, I'm only going to talk about the ones that are probably worth talking about. So I'll quickly go. So obviously, Leicester was 1-0. Leicester were terrible, but a win's a win at the end of the day on the road. Leeds beat Acton Stanley 3-1. Blackburn Rovers and Birmingham City drew to Leeds, so that's going to a replay at Birmingham. Bristol City beat West Brom 3-0, which I was a bit surprised about. But here's the worst one I didn't see coming. Sunderland getting a draw against high flying Fulham. Nathan. Sunderland are not doing too bad with a decent run of form and getting a replay at the Light Stadium. There could be finer chances of home now Fulham.
Yeah, I did think Fulham in that game did give them a little bit too much, if I'm honest. Like, considering the performances this season and the team lineups they have been playing, I think they just got a little bit complacent. Marco Silva left them going out saying, at the end of the day, you're going to win this. Look at the quality between you guys and Sunderland. Just obviously play it, enjoy it. And at the end of the day, Sunderland, Tony Mowbray got them in firing up. Yes, it's not the most expensive squad or the most experienced, but they got a good number on them. And if I'm honest, Fulham need to send it in the second leg now. Badly.
Reece, what do you think Sunderland could cause the upset here in the replay?
It's possible. It's possible, but they really need to work for it. They can't afford to make any sloppy mistakes. That's the one key thing. You cannot afford to make any sloppy mistakes in a match like this. So yeah, I would have to say so.
Owen, obviously we didn't obviously know what your predictions were before the season, but I know I'm pretty sure George had Fulham to get relegated. I don't think Nathan did, and I don't think Reece did.
I didn't say no.
But
I had Fulham to survive, I think.
But a lot of people had Fulham basically towards the bottom of the table or the relegation. So how have you found Fulham this season? Have they surprised you as well? But how good they've been compared to the previous year in the Premier League?
Yeah, I mean, in a good way, I'm delighted for them. I like Fulham. I like their ground. It's a really cool place to go on the Thames. It's a lovely place, and yeah, I think they've got the best Fulham. It's the best Fulham team since the heady days of Roy Hodgson. And they're really good. Yeah, I've been the most transformative player, as well as the big man up front is obviously Palhinha, central midfield.
Quality signing.
He is probably the most underrated player in the league.
Oh yeah, I mean he's fabulous, and the number 6 is my favourite position. It's the first one that I really look out for, and going the other way. I mean, me being a Liverpool obsessive, our malaise has directly aligned with the rapid and sad decline of Fabinho. Because a fully fit Fabinho at number 6 makes all the difference at Liverpool, just like Palhinha makes all the difference to Fulham. They're hard to break down. They're solid. They've got flair. Andreas Pereira has been very impressive as well. Another underrated player this season. He's been brilliant. And I like watching them play. Kudos to them. Well done.
So Ipswich and Burnley during the league, which was a bit surprised about. I thought Offensive Company would win that game. Luton Town and Grimsby Town drew to each. Luton Town and Kenneth on apart and Clayton Jones obviously moved to Southampton. They couldn't have been quite the same. Sheffield United and Fleetwood Hurling drew 1-1. Southampton just about beat Blackpool, which surprised me. I thought Southampton would probably ease past the struggle Blackpool. Spurs hammer Preston North End. No surprise there. Reece, quick summary of Manchester United beating Paul Ince's transfer and Bago Reading 3-1 at Old Trafford.
Yeah, it was the result I expected, to be honest. I expected us to win comfortably. I mean, obviously Reading did get a goal, it was quite fortunate, but they were never really in the game. I thought we completely bossed them. I thought, again, Casemiro proving why he is one of the signings of the season. Like, a lot of people wrote him off at the age of 30, saying, well, he's coming to Man United, he's coming to a team that's in a different stage of rebuilding under Erik ten Hag, a totally different dynamic at Man United. Does he suit Erik ten Hag's style of play? Is he actually going to fit? And he's probably been, apart from maybe Lisandro Martinez, he's been Erik ten Hag's best player all season and his best signing as well. It genuinely shows like having someone in that position completely transforms your team, and every opportunity he had in the ball, we looked so comfortable. And the fact he scored twice as well, even better. I thought his link up with Anthony was great. Anthony's been getting a fair amount of stick off pundits, of rival fans, fair enough, and he's been getting stick off our own fans. But I actually think if Anthony doesn't play, United haven't got a hope in hell of winning a game comfortably. When Anthony does play, we actually look more comfortable playing because you actually see United more creative on the right-hand side. Yes, he doesn't have a lot of assists. Yes, he doesn't have a lot of goals. But if you actually think about it, and I'm not going to say he is directly Mo Salah here, right? But I'm actually going to use Mo Salah as a perfect example here. When Mo Salah at his best when he plays for Liverpool, it's not just about scoring goals or getting assists for him. It's the same with Sadio Mane, funnily enough, when he played for Liverpool. It's all about creating space. It's all about creating space in positions where the number 9 or the number 10 or even the midfield will push up. It then gives the opportunities for them to come in. Salah and Mane, God forbid, obviously playing for Liverpool and now playing for Bayern. They're one of the best wing partnerships in the Premier League for a reason. Well, they were. Obviously, he's no longer at Liverpool, but you saw that. It was that telepathic link between the two. Whenever Mane got the ball, he was always going to cause problems. Firmino would get the space, and Salah would bounce on that. And you knew who was going to score. It was going to be either or of them, but they're always going to get the space. And when I'm looking at United, Anthony's not directly Mo Salah, but in a way, because of the space he creates with his left foot and the position, how fast he can rotate his body, he is causing problems on that side. And that's why I generally think without Anthony, we generally won't win a game comfortably. With him, we will. So I'm not directly comparing him, but I'm saying the way that he rotates and uses his body, he utilises space with his left foot, generally changes the complexion of a game. And no wonder the pass to Casemiro for his goal was absolutely sublime. So yeah, 100%. Like, it was one of our best performances in recent games, even though it was against Reading. I don't care. It was still a top performance. We needed after last week, which was utter shite.
Sticking with you very quickly, Reece. Obviously, Erik ten Hag played a very strong team, pretty much the first team, other than maybe Harry Maguire and potentially,
and Lindelof as well. Yeah,
practically the first team. Obviously, Erik ten Hag takes every competition. Obviously, ten Hag takes every competition seriously, but does this also show the lack of depth Man United have, considering you played the league, you had the FA Cup, you've obviously had the League Cup in between as well. Is there a massive lack of depth issue? Do you think this could cause a burnout within the players, which may start a different form? Obviously, Eriksen is obviously a big injury, don't know. He left Old Trafford with crutches after the FA Cup fixture, so could this potentially slow United down these next couple of weeks with these players maybe just not having the legs to keep playing every game and no one to really replace them?
I think you will see an evidence of maybe like a slight decline in United starting games, like right off the bat, like with speed. But we are actually more comfortable right now. Like when you look at our last two managers, like in that sense, it was always about trying to press the ball, but it was never sustainable. It was never really sustainable. Under Ten Hag, you can actually see his style of play, even though it's still in development, his transitional variated football that he played at Ajax, it's still not being nurtured into Man United. You can actually see already there is actually some evidence that what Ten Hag is actually coaching on the training ground with Steve McLaren and Mitchell van der Gaag. There is actually clear evidence. And actually, to be fair, Ben McCarthy as well, because we're improving in the attacking department as well. When you look at it in that sense, you can generally see improvement. We're actually sustaining a press, and it's high, and it's intense, and it's working with us. But there is a lack of depth in certain positions. I agree. I thought Garnacho and Palestri, maybe even Jadon Sancho would have played against Reading. To be honest, I would have played all three. It would have given Marcus Rashford, Fernandes, Eriksen, unfortunately, he's now injured as well. Certain players like that, they could have benefited from them. Like, it could have benefited from those younger players getting a run out where we didn't necessarily need them, but it would at least give us an opportunity to at least relax a little bit. Reading, I don't think we're ever going to do anything against us anyway. It was never really reflective, but there was no shame in starting the younger players. But Ten Hag is obsessed with winning. He's obsessed with winning trophies. His approach is the same every single week. Start strong, get the result we want, and then take off the key players and then bring some like fringe players on who can just relax and just work with it. It's the same. He's done the same at Ajax. The one thing I respect about that is he will not shy away from that. Yes, if you're in bad form or you don't do well in training or you've got a bad attitude, you will not start a game. You'll come off the bench. But you can see specifically, it's not about trusting the same players. He's actually making sure his strongest team is actually showing they're the strongest team for a reason. But we definitely do need a few other players in key positions. I definitely agree.
Owen, taking your Liverpool bias, your hatred for Manchester United out of your blood for this question, how have you found Manchester United this season under Erik ten Hag compared to obviously previous seasons under Solskjaer?
It's a really interesting question. I think I can't take my Liverpool bias out of my blood or my liver.
I wouldn't do the same with Man United bias to Liverpool either, so I respect that.
It's just impossible. So, but I mean, I try to be magnanimous. I have lots of friends who support Manchester United, and at the end of the day, they're the second biggest club in England. But I think this season it's interesting because as the revival gone, is that a plane I can hear on a mic? Can someone mute?
Honestly, I will because there's planes that go over my house, so I will mute myself.
Oh, okay. Sorry. But no, thank you. No, just to collect my thoughts. I've got so many thoughts about Manchester United. So is their 10-game winning run or whatever it was, if you look at the opposition they played, as you know, it was a lot of weak teams or weaker teams. There was one good result in their very, very long winning run. That was a brilliant result against Manchester City. But as we know this season, Manchester City are vulnerable to a good team. I think Man United's first team, I agree with a lot of what Reece is saying. Their first team is very good, but I still think Man United will never win the league unless they sort out the attack. It could be as simple as Victor Osimhen. Just one player coming from Napoli would absolutely be brilliant for United. But given the competition and the level of competition and, Newcastle United effect, the billions at their disposal, Chelsea, of course, the billions that they're spending in one window, signing everyone with a pair of boots. That I think that Manchester United, they're in an interesting place. I think the revival has been slightly exaggerated. I think it will normalise, and I would say that United are either third or fourth best team in England and still some way off it. Regarding Anthony, there was a player called Mark Walters in the 90s for Liverpool, who a lot of people won't remember or you won't know because you weren't born yet. He arrived with a big reputation. He was a young guy, came from Scottish football, from Glasgow Rangers, and he got 19 goals and 16 assists in 130 appearances because he was fast, he was rapid, he could dribble, but he would run down blind alleys all day, every day. And that's what I'm seeing from Anthony, I'm afraid. 80 million or however much he cost. He's just going to win you corner after corner. But he's not going to actually, he's got a lot to learn about how to be much more devastating. So yeah, you need to sort out your right-hand side. Sancho's not the answer, unfortunately, given his mental health difficulties. I feel for him. I hope he's okay. And it's still very much a work in progress. And that's, I mean, I could go on for hours, but I'll stop there. I'll leave it there.
Hello to Waffle Way. Thank you for coming into the chat. It must be really confident for next season. We will be coming on to Chelsea when we talk about the transfer window. So do feel free to stay.
I do agree. I do agree there with Owen to a degree though about like. I don't think I'm not going to get too carried away with this, but the fact that we're still relatively competing as well is evident to like the manager like actually being more focused. Like previous managers just wanted to get top four and then just move on. The last manager that was genuinely serious post Alex Ferguson was Jose Mourinho, in my opinion. I don't think the rest of them were genuinely serious at all. Maybe Van Gaal won FA Cup, but he after he got beat off MK Dons, like that 4-0 game in his first season, like his mindset completely changed. Like that one FA Cup was literally it. But I think Ten Hag generally has that motivation. He wants to win trophies. He wants to play the best football at United, but he will do it his way. And if you don't buy into it, you are gone. Anthony definitely does have to do more. I completely agree. But I do like the fact that like players are standing by him, but the fact that like Casemiro's coming out after like Gary Neville's calling him predictable, and Casemiro's come out and said, well, he's actually very important to this team. Like it's actually good to see someone come out and defend their player in the right way, like their teammate, and I actually like that. And one other thing is I still want us to do, I'm not saying directly copy Arsenal because we've been doing it longer than Arsenal, but in terms of like blooding young players into our team and developing a long-term team, Arteta's doing that really well at Arsenal. There's a lot of good young players we've got. I want us to keep going that way, but add maybe 2 or 3 experienced players like every year, right? Replenish the experience, make sure it's we're not replacing experience with inexperience. It's experience being replaced with experience that's got more legs in them. And also I say cheers Cardiff for letting us sign Biancheri.
Another loss for us.
Had to get that in there, Nathan. Sorry, I had to get that in there.
Nathan, I go up to you. I seen loads of Renault fans on this podcast. They were doing talking about how worried they are about the future. Obviously, they're transfer embargoed. They don't have a strong squad. A lot of them are losing faith in Poland. Do you think Redden are heading for disaster, or do you think they're a consistent championship club who probably will just be hanging around in there for a few years?
Well, they've been hanging around in there for quite a few years now, to be honest. And I predicted them to finish bottom this year. Paul Ince, terrible manager, isn't he? But to be fair, he's actually doing quite okay considering some of how abysmal a few other teams have been in the Championship this season. A few to name, for example, Wigan have been shocking, Huddersfield have been shocking, Blackpool have been shocking, Cardiff have been shocking, Bristol City have been shocking. Just to name a few there. So they've got off very, very lightly. Any other championship season, they would be rock bottom. But just because of how bad some sides have been this year, and that is due to just poor ownership and really poor decisions by managers, well, in particular club managers and stuff. But I don't know. Reading are in a really precarious position. Ince has done well, but it is a ship just going slowly and slowly and slowly like that. And if I'm honest, their fate is going to be sealed in the next few seasons. It is a miracle how they have not gone down to League One yet, considering the transfer embargoes, points deductions, problems off the pitch. And yeah, how on earth are they still in the Championship? It's just baffling.
I think it's purely the fact that they've got players that, even though they're not particularly great, they've got players that are hungry, and there's players that don't have a sense of quitting them. I think that's something that I think that's a lot. I think they deserve that bit of respect. To be fair, like they don't quit. Like that's the difference for me.
All right, so moving on from Manchester United, we're going to move on to Liverpool. Liverpool suffered a last-minute kick in the backside to Brighton to be knocked out of the FA Cup, throwing another dagger into the Liverpool hearts. Oh, and this has been a tough season for Liverpool. The weekend didn't make it any better because now you have no domestic cup to win. The league's gone. Leaves you with the Champions League. Probably feels like it's impossible to win. As a Liverpool fan, yourself, and obviously as in general, how are you feeling about the situation in Liverpool at the moment?
Oh, well, it's rubbish, isn't it? We've turned into Arsenal, and Arsenal have turned into us. They've got a young team, a hungry team, a team that's reaching their peak. They will reach their peak over the next 2 or 3 years. Like Reece was saying before, it's exactly how you build a team. Arteta's done it. Liverpool have signed one midfielder in the last 10 transfer windows, who was Thiago Alcantara, who's a brilliant player 3 years ago. He's still a brilliant player.
What about Arthur? he forgot he existed.
Well, yeah, I mean, like we got two midfielders between 23 and 27 years old. One of them's Naby Keita, who plays about 600 minutes a season, and the other one is Arthur Melo, who has played 6 minutes so far. So you know, it's a comedy of errors. Every single player is way down in all of their stats compared to normal. So every single player is playing badly. Of course, it's to do with the midfield, but also the defenders. And if it weren't for Alisson Becker, then we would honestly be about 17th, 18th. We'd be, you know, like honestly, he's the only one who's played well. I'm trying to think. Maybe there's one more player who's played well, but no. And it's obvious. And Klopp was saying to lots of Liverpool journalists before the season started how we didn't need a midfielder because we had 9 midfielders, including that. Like, if you actually count them on your hands, it's just a mixture of old men who are past it, apart from Thiago, and inexperienced players who aren't even midfielders, like Harvey Elliott and Fabio Carvalho. So quite what I mean, you can almost see what Klopp's plan was after getting 97 points and 99 points. And it's like, well, where do we go from here? The answer was to try and be a bit more technical by bringing in Thiago. But like the bleedingly obvious thing is, if you can't run backwards because none of your players have got the legs when you lose the ball, it's not the fact that you lost the ball that you need to stop. It's the fact that you can't run backwards that you need to stop. And so our transitions from attack to defence is the worst I've seen since our glorious Roy Hodgson years, when we had Jay Spearing, Christian Poulsen in the centre of Liverpool's midfield. It's that bad. It's been absolutely diabolical. The fact that they haven't signed anyone in January, and here we are a day before the panic buys. Maybe we'll re-sign John Joe Shelby or something on the last day of the transfer window. He's
got the Forest.
It's been bonkers. It's been bananas, and there's been a dereliction of duty absolutely everywhere. The fires have been going, in the kitchen for so long that they just think something's cooking rather than the house is burning down.
See, what do you think it's going to be like going? Because you're probably going to finish mid-table. You're obviously not going to win the Champions League. Going into the summer here, a massive rebuild needs to happen. Do you think a rebuild is going to happen? Is Klopp going to be the right man for the rebuild? He's been there for so long. His contract obviously is going to be over in 3 years' time. Is he the right man to do a rebuild with? Is PSG going to invest the money? Are you going to sell the players to bring the money in? That's
a different question. My greatest fear is for Klopp to leave because they're not going to back him. the whole thing that's going on behind the scenes is that the owners, are looking for investment, or they're looking to sell the club, one of the two. And until that's sorted and we know how much money we've got to play with, then we're just in limbo. So in many ways, not getting European competition for next year will help us. I would prefer to play in the conference than the Conference League, because it's just a big waste of time and energy. So I'd be much happier finishing 10th or lower than 8th or 7th or whatever gets you into that nonsense. And it all depends on who comes in and how much money they've got, basically. But we need I've worked out we need 5 players, all between the ages of 20 and 27. We need to replace Chamberlain, Keita, Milner, Henderson, Fabinho. That's just in midfield, those 5. We also need, we've got one though, by Chetic. We also need a defender who can defend, because Joe Gomez has been awful at fault. I think he's made 5 errors leading to goals already.
Crazy.
I also
you want to know one position you really need? This is my personal opinion. A right back, a defensive-minded right back.
Exactly. That's it. We need a player who can play right back. Move Trent to midfield, because Trent is.
I've been saying that for years.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
And every Liverpool fan has called myself and Reese completely deluded for suggesting that.
Not me.
That's because you're a man of culture. You're a man of culture.
Trent is born for midfield. I mean, he's been brilliant, but now that they've worked him out, every single team has worked him out, and he looks bewildered and lost. And why keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result? I do not.
Exactly. It's like,
more importantly, I'd like to find the coach who actually thought it'd be a good idea to play right back. Like, which coach?
It was Jurgen Klopp who played him right back on his debut at Hoffenheim.
Stupid, really stupid.
No, it's not. I don't think it's stupid, because I think that with his passing range, the fact that he was able to get, because most teams, they leave a space at right back, and Trent, it works wonders when he's got space. Mm-hmm. Even last season, he got 12 assists from right back. But this season, he's only got 1 assist, because everybody's just like swarming him and crowding him. And I don't know, a myriad of problems. But what he had when he was good at right back is he had midfielders next to him who could cover the space when he went forward.
And ultimately, because the age of them now, they just don't have it.
Now he's got Mo Salah in front of him, who doesn't really defend, and Harvey Elliott, who's played every single game for Liverpool this season, who is not a midfielder, playing in midfield. So, of course, Trent is completely isolated, completely lost, and is angrier and angrier every single game, because he's just being asked to do the impossible.
Yep.
Well said.
Thank you very much for
I actually had a question for Owen, actually, and before we move on, and I have a question. And this isn't to slag him off, right? But this is obviously because I don't think he's been at his best for a long time, and I really do. I just want to ask, what is your genuine opinion on Van Dijk this season?
Virgil's been way off it.
Not to completely single him out or anything, but in terms of like quality, stature, importance to you guys, and considering what he's done in the league and in Europe, all due respect, he is one of the best defenders in the world. A lot of people call him the best defender. I won't, but he is one of the best defenders. He is definitely way off it. What is your general what is your general opinion on him this season? And do you think even himself, because obviously the injury is not easy to come back from, do you think he's also being found out, or do you think there's something else there? Like, I just want to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, no, I think Virgil is it's a little bit like Mo Salah, right? In terms of his drop-off. Virgil's drop-off, you're going from, absolute gold to, you know, something that's still quite valuable, maybe some kind of silver. But now he's definitely bronze, you know, or you know, like he's not quite two pence, if I can, you know, murder that analogy. But you know, he's gone from you know, a 10 out of 10 defender to a 6 or 7 out of 10 defender. Sometimes 8, sometimes I don't think he's put in a 9 out of 10 this season though, but sort of average about 6.57 out of 10, which isn't good enough. And we've needed a lot more. And you can tell because conspiracy theories came out that he was saving himself for the Netherlands in the World Cup, which I thought was a bit ridiculous because you've got to play yourself into good form before the World Cup so that you're really ready. Like if you're taking it easy in games and then think you can suddenly step up for the World Cup, then you're deluding yourself. And Virgil's way too smart for that. So it's just a decline. So yeah, I mean, Virgil, great player to have around. He's still very useful, but I would be looking at getting a right back stroke centre back. You know, someone like Gvardiol.
Yeah.
Good shout.
Good
shout.
You know, someone young with great talent. There are lots of them out there, but
absolutely.
Okay, so moving on to the final couple time we're going to talk about. I'm going to go to Nathan for this one. Wrexham and Sheffield United for each.
Of course, you had to pick this one.
So close to knocking out Sheffield United, who were down to 10 men, but a last minute equaliser from John Egan from a set play give Sheffield United the replay. What did you make of the side nearly knocking out the second side?
Let me just jump in for Nathan speaks. Can I just say he must have watched last night's show because that's exactly what we did at the start of the show.
They did indeed, and the thing is, like, I like what Wrexham are doing, and it's good to finally see them. Obviously, 16 years out with a club of that size out of the Football League, which is a disgrace in itself. But at the same time, it's Wrexham doing well in an FA Cup. Like, it's so hard to watch, like, from my perspective, but it's so good to watch at the same time. Like, I don't know how to describe it. And I mean, them going to Bramall Lane now, I think Heckingbottom is going to get a bit complacent, but they do get the home tie. You never know, they could completely finish them off, but you just can't tell. But the confidence that they're playing at the moment, steamrolling National League, and yeah, it's a difficult one for me, but I keep saying this about Wrexham. The second that they get promoted, they're in League One. Because, as I've said many times before, the gap between the top 5 of the National League and the whole of League Two doesn't exist. It is like neck and neck. The only difference you start to get is when you get into League One. And then the depth of quality in League One is massive. So you have your top half teams, then your bottom half teams. That's why it's a little bit close there. But League Two is probably one of the most open leagues in the Football League, like even more than the Championship, for example, which is starting to break away now. But yeah, it's a great result for a non-league side against Sheffield United. But I got to be honest, the Sutton run a few years ago when they went to, who was it? Arsenal at home versus Sutton. This is before, obviously, they became professional. They're now a very good club in League Two, almost going up to League One. But, I mean, Crawley were another one. Fleetwood, who remembers Blackpool Fleetwood? Where you had Blackpool fans watching from their houses looking into Highbury. I mean, there's been some absolute bonkers ties, but I mean, Wrexham, it was coming, wasn't it, at the end of the day? But watching it from my perspective is absolutely mortifying.
I feel like Wrexham are probably doing everything opposite of Cardiff are what we're doing at the moment on all else. So that's the FA Cup pretty much rolled up. Yeah, so obviously there's a load of replays to happen. Obviously, sure. Very quickly, just want to ask you. Obviously, you. Actually, sorry, just one game we did miss. That's a lie. Manchester City and Arsenal played on Friday night. They forgot about that game. Probably the biggest tie there. But first of all, I think it was obvious Arteta kind of showed what he thought about this game. He did not play his full strength team. He rested the goalkeeper. He rested a few defensive players. He took Thomas Partey off at half time. Manchester City, on the other hand, other than the goalkeeper, played a full strength team. Right, second half, Manchester City, deserved to win that game, and Arsenal's second string players showed why it is extremely important that Arsenal keep all their starting 11 players fit. And because obviously they don't other than maybe Acton and Ketia, who obviously has done well for Jesus, the drop off between Thomas Partey, the drop off between having no Odegaard, the drop off from having no Ramsdale, the drop off from having no Gabriel and Saliba back there kind of showed off on Friday night against City. He pretty much dominated them the whole of the second half.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's quite evident about both teams, like specifically who played as well, the difference in quality. Pep's doing a really strange thing at the minute, right? Pep seems to be, he wants to be the guy that innovates systems, right? He wants to be the guy who's he's like the ultimate system manager. His style, his way, you play in one system. It doesn't really matter if it's a 4-3-3 or a back three. He's now doing a Xavi. He's actually copying Xavi. I've watched one specific Barcelona match this year, right? One of them in particular. And Xavi played a 3-2-4-1 system. It's never been seen before. Pep's now used it 5 times since then. He's used it 5 times. And I'm like, what are you trying to prove? Like, are you trying to prove that you're better than Xavi? Like, it's quite bizarre. Like, you see the drop off from them. Like, they're definitely way undercut. They're trying to play Haaland's strengths, and it's not actually working at all. Haaland obviously is scoring goals for fun, but you actually see the difference in City when he actually doesn't score a goal. They are trying to find different ways. Like, Mahrez is continuously stepping up, but he's getting on. They can't keep relying on him forever. Phil Foden is playing really well. You can't rely on him forever. Bernardo Silva, good season. Gundogan is going to Barcelona in the summer. It's already agreed, pre-contract. He is going. They've now just allowed João Cancelo to go to Bayern Munich on loan with a £61.5 million option.
That is cheap as anything as well.
Like, that is like
Cancelo.
I think he's fantastic, but I generally don't understand how the hell Man City can allow Cancelo to go like that. Like, look at their fullback depth. Kyle Walker's a good defender, but Kyle Walker doesn't play like Cancelo. Exactly. That's Sergio Gomez is only just in the league. Like, it's not fair for him to have so much pressure on him so quickly. I don't understand that. I know, is it that Rico Lewis or whoever it is, the one that plays for them, and Rico Lewis plays for Chelsea.
Yeah.
No,
the one
Lewis, yeah.
Yeah, like the one that plays for City though, like whoever that is, like the young lad, he's doing really well. But you can't expect him to replace Cancelo so quickly. I mean, that is absolutely stupid. I know Pep.
I disagree. I think Cancelo's been rubbish for about a year.
Yeah, I think he's been a poor form. I'm not disagreeing that, but to lump it on such a young lad so quickly, I would have waited until the summer, give him the game time. He's done that really well with Foden, but Cancelo's, even though he's had a bad year, he's still been reliable for how City play. Like, even if he doesn't get an assist or a goal, he's still pushing up the field where it blends. When he isn't in the team, I actually think City don't look as good when he's not in the team.
Yeah, but I mean, talking about the systems, I think Nathan Ake can play there, you see, and he's going.
He is a good player, though. He is a good player. I really do like Nathan Ake.
A more defensive fullback because with Haaland, they've got one fewer player in midfield. You know, which is where a lot of their problems have been in the few games where they have had problems.
It is strange the way. Like, it is strange.
But
it's so cheap.
I don't know. I think that's a good price for Cancelo. I think you're looking a couple of years and figured out that he's actually fallen off a cliff, and 60 million would be a great price for City. But it's just my opinion. I might be.
But to the fact that he's going to Bayern though, and obviously they do have a big Champions League game coming up, Cancelo will be eligible to play in the Champions League. Obviously, this summer there is rumours that Benjamin Pavard, even though he's been in good form for Bayern Munich, he's still the one that isn't seen as the long term. It's Matsurai, he is seen as the long term. With Benjamin Pavard potentially on the way out, this pretty much does. He could be on the way out sooner. Like, this could be Bayern Munich. Actually, you know what? We've got a very good fullback on loan. That's versatile. Pavard, you've been good for us, but you know what? We're already going to get rid of you anyway. Now's your chance. Let's go.
I heard Pavard has a bad attitude. I've heard that from a
Yeah.
few people here in France.
Yeah, I rate him, but I've heard that as well. I think he's a good fullback, but I do agree with you. I think there's something not there. Like there's definitely something not there for him as well. But like it is still fantastic though. It's a fantastic steal for Bayern, and now Chelsea as well with their signings are flaming ridiculous. Like Pedro Porro's deal with Spurs is now back on after being off, so that's funny. But Man City. They've actually done the worst thing. They've actually done the worst thing for themselves by knocking out Arsenal at the FA Cup. Even though City's obsessed with trophies, even though Pep's obsessed with trophies as well, he's just pretty much given the title to Arsenal because they'll be out the Europa League soon as well. They've not got the depth to do it. Arteta will be like, we don't need the Europa League, lads. Full steam ahead. Let's go for the Premier League.
Yeah,
True.
Yeah.
Well, very quick question before we move on. First of all, who do you think is going to win the FA Cup, Jason?
Difficult. Really, really, really difficult. I think it's going to be either Manchester City or Brighton.
Okay. Reece?
I'm still saying for banter's purposes to make people hate me. Man United to win the FA Cup, but I think it'll be a Man United Brighton final.
Brighton final. And Owen, same question to you, but also, do you think Arsenal will win the league?
Yes, I think Arsenal will win the league if Partey, especially Partey, and stays fit, because I'm all about the number sixes. And he's freaking brilliant as a number 6. Yeah, so who's going to win the FA Cup? I don't know. I've got the list of teams in front of me. I don't care. Liverpool are out. I think if I have to pick a team, yeah, maybe Man United, actually. Yeah, they might get lucky with the draws.
They could do the domestic double then, potentially.
Our 9th consecutive home draw as well. We've not had an away cup game since without fans, like since pre-COVID. We've not had a single away fixture with fans.
What a stat! Wow,
Mental as fuck, man.
Oh, does Barcelona away not count in the Europa League, or?
No, we mean like domestic cups, like Europa League doesn't count.
On the FA Cup,
Yeah, it's obviously that's enforced, isn't it? So.
Okay, so we're now going to move on to some general topics as you talk about all the football news taking place across the football world. We're going to stick in England, and we're going to go to Acton, who obviously we spoke about on the show last week about the potential replacement for Frank Lampard. Today, the confirmation has taken place. It is Sean Dyche on a 2-year deal joining Everton. Me and Reece had a bit of a debate about it between Bielsa and Sean Dyche. I said why Sean Dyche was good. Reece said why Marcel Bielsa. Now, I do think Sean Dyche was the second option. I do think they did try for Bielsa, but Bielsa looked at that Everton team and just says, "You can fuck off. This is not good. This team is not good."
I disagree on that. From what I feel,
well, he basically just said that the players were too slow and he would only join them if they signed
he
the
did
right
it.
players.
However, he did say to Mashiri that if he was going to come in, he wanted to implement all of these changes. And he said with the amount of problems there, he just wanted to restructure from the academy all the way up. And they basically said no.
Which I think is,
Bielsa and in comes Sean Dyche.
Well, I think they had a right to say no, just because they probably just wanted to stay in the league, probably not wanting to go through all these changes with Bielsa to end up getting relegated. So I kind of respect it. I said last week I think Sean Dyche is the right person to keep them in the league. I think their squad's good enough with Dyche. I think they've got the right players to play his system. I feel like he'll get them organised for already good defence. The question is just, do they have enough goals? Do they already struggle for goals as it is? And his teams are not exactly high scoring. Owen, what do you think? Sean Dyche to Everton to keep them up. Will he do it or
not? God, I hope not. No, I mean Everton. I will miss the Merseyside derby if they do go down. But Sean Dyche, I was just looking at his entire career. His win percentage is around about 36%, and the last season, full season that he played, his Burnley team averaged 0.88 goals for and 1.41 goals against. So yes, Everton need to score goals. I don't know who's going to do that. I mean, they've sold Anthony Gordon, right? So he's like probably their best creative player. Demarai or Demari Gray, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, is very inconsistent. Brilliant for one game and disappears for three. But I think, yeah, they're going to need goals. Yes, he will be able to organise them. I think they've got a good team. But I hope they go down. I just can't get away from it. It's just, they've been. I've just had enough. I've had enough Everton. So I'm in a little bit of two minds because I do like the Merseyside derby, but honestly, the way that they've. Is it just me? Are you not just bored of Everton? The Lampard thing and everything about them. Can't you just see them? I don't know, kick up the butt by going down. You would actually, it might be good for them. They'll have the best stadium in the Championship.
I would say, one thing I do know from your Twitter posts is you do not rate Frank Lampard as a manager whatsoever. So I don't think it came to any surprise to you that he got sacked.
Awful. I mean, I wanted him to stay. I was Lampard in from day one because it was that bleedingly obvious. Like, which idiot at Everton appoint Rafa Benitez and then Frank Lampard? Like, whoever made that decision, I don't know. I'm jealous because they probably get a heck of a lot more money than I do for being absolutely incompetent. So yeah, I don't know. Lampard in, bring him back.
Do you think we're Sean Dyche going to Everton?
I think it's a really poor move, if I'm honest. If at the end of the day, when he took over Burnley, look how long it took him to get them up. Obviously, they kept him when they went down, and then obviously built them. It took them years. He was there for 9 years, and look what happens when he actually left Burnley on his first spell and went to Watford. That just says it all. And even with what you've got to look at is as well with the squad, that does not seem like a Sean Dyche squad to me. Like, I don't think he's going to be able to get a tune out of it. I mean, we've already seen the pictures in training, which you could only be described as Everton just pumping out memes of their club. The players looked absolutely pooped, and Sean Dyche was loving it. Like, it just goes to show the fitness and the comfortability that they have had under Frank Lampard, which, I mean, everyone knows my opinions with Frank Lampard under a manager. Underachieved massively at Derby, did the same at Chelsea, and was woeful at Everton as well. But it's going to be a long ride for him. And like I've said many times this season, out of all the squads in the relegation battles between them, I think only, I'd say, Bournemouth have a worse squad than them. Their squad is not fit for purpose in the Premier League. And it's going to be a long ride, I think. And Bielsa, I think, would have been perfect for them at the end of the season. They should have got someone in temporary. They should have got Duncan Ferguson into the end of the season. Not that he should have got the job over Frank Lampard by a mile. The fact he left because they wanted to go for Lampard was ridiculous. Like, at the end of the day, they've shot themselves in the foot. Bielsa wanted to do a full revamp, which would have rocketed Everton back up there. Shiri refused. Gone for a Sean Dyche who's just going to get sacked at the end of the season. And not only that as well, who remembers when they appointed someone similar to Dyche under Allardyce? He plays sort of exactly the same football, very direct, lumping it up. Just sort of one of those managers. Allardyce got them to 8th in the league. What did the Everton fans do in their football hipster minds? Wanted him out. They got him out and then straight away shot back down the leagues because they wanted someone who played a bit prettier football and played the Everton way. They're having exactly the same now. If Sean Dyche keeps them up, they'll still moan, quite frankly. They'll bring someone else in and down they go.
Okay.
It's a comedy show.
So moving on to the sort of transfer news that is obviously taking place over these next few weeks. So the first one I want to start off with is with the Brighton player saga. So obviously Chelsea wanted this particular Brighton player for 70 million, 55 million. Brighton rejected. Arsenal have been trying for the last 3-ish days. For the last 3 days. Brighton are insistent that he is not going to go. He then posted his social media post basically saying goodbye to Brighton and how he was going to bring them a club transfer free. And Brighton said no. By the looks of it, Brighton have given up. Sorry, Arsenal have given up and they're going to be going for other options. Reece, if you're this particular Brighton fan, I will say the same to can't pronounce his name. You guys can say his name for me. Yeah, what do you do? Because like, how can you walk back into that, into the Brighton dressing room now after all this? Like, you're pretty much going to be stuck playing and doing individual training now for the next 6 months. Like, for him and his agent, it was a stupid and disrespectful move to Brighton, and fair play to Brighton for probably holding their own stand because they had every right to not sell the player. Your mic's still on mute.
There we go. It's just my keyboard acting up. Yeah, I mean, Caicedo really is a strange one. It's like the circumstances, but in all honesty, I agree. There is no way back for him. If he's already said a goodbye, he's basically done a Dybala. He's basically done a Griezmann. He's already said goodbye, and it doesn't matter what you achieve with Brighton, like Dybala at Juventus and Griezmann at Atletico Madrid. At the time, it doesn't matter what he does now at Brighton. He could win Brighton's Player of the Year, or he could lead Brighton to an FA Cup, which won't happen anyway. But his whole contribution would be like, forget him. Let's just give it all the contribution to the rest of the team. Give it to the likes of Mitoma, like somebody else who's working hard, has not made any comments like this as such about saying goodbye and moving on. He's a good player, Caicedo, but how you act in certain scenarios really will determine how a fan will treat you. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if you're a young player or an experienced player, if you're European or South American. In that concept, it really doesn't matter. A player's still a player, and they are going to really test the waters with him. If he does get his move now, it will. At least all he's going to expect is a couple of boos at the Amex. Other than that, I find the timing of it really strange. I get Chelsea are already spending more money than money can chew, but why go from now when all season you've been talking about Enzo Fernandez? What is the bloody point? It makes now obviously you're after both players. Jacob Steinberg's confirmed that you're after both players now, but I'm really questioning Chelsea's transfer policy, or lack of. I mean, I know Football Manager's still a big thing. I play it now and then. I mean, I know you play it, Josh. You got beat off Nathan, but when I look at it, I think it's literally just whoever's targeted to Arsenal or whoever's targeted to Man United, rumoured, or whoever's targeted to whoever gets targeted to fucking Liverpool, for example. Chelsea are just going to swoop in and go, we've been scouting this guy for 6 months. Here's 95 million. Oh, hang on. That's not scouting a player. That's just saying, no, we'll just raise the offer. And it's no different to Caicedo. And yeah, Brighton are losing a fantastic player that we should have signed before Brighton did. We were all after Caicedo and then walked away. Stupid deal that we walked away from. Brighton have benefited from it. They're fantastic at selling players on for high value. They sign really well for low money, sell for big fees. Just to be fair, they've done exactly what Southampton did in the early part of the 2010s. Fantastic players that came in from abroad or from the lower leagues, nurtured them really well, sold them for big dosh. I think Brighton to an extent are doing it, but they're doing it in a better way because they're actually they're not challenging per se, but they're a more believable challenger than Southampton. In terms of opposition wise, they can beat a big team or they can beat a lesser team. Southampton used to do that. They're not in that stage at the moment. And I think when you look at Brighton, if they sell Caicedo for all that money, immediately it's going to be invested into someone. Well, they've already signed a player already for €6 million or something like that, already. So they've already signed someone.
Yeah.
But they can reinvest that into the Amex Stadium, into their training facilities. Like De Serbi could end up getting a very big player as a thank you for how well you've done since you've replaced Potter. He could get something like that. Like it might happen, it might not, but it wouldn't surprise me if they sell Caicedo and the first thing they do is go to De Serbi, pick a player for X amount of money, and we'll actually get you for how well you've done. It wouldn't surprise me because I think Brighton generally appreciate him as a manager for how he's actually done better for them than Potter ever did. I think he's generally made them better than Potter ever could, in my opinion. And fair play to them for the fact that they can command a fee so high for a player of Caicedo's quality so quickly when he's only been in the team, a year and a half? Like, fair play to them for that.
They've already sold a couple of their big guys, though. They sold Trossard, they sold Cucurella. They've got over 100 million for them. And I just think, to me, it makes sense to keep him, even if he does throw his toys out of the pram, as they say. You know, he's a quality player, and if he wants to play football, which, you know, he might go and sulk for a couple of months, but by, for example, the middle of March, if he hasn't kicked a single ball because they've been making an example out of him, then he might, you know, think, you know, try and work his way, for the sake of his own career, work his way back into the Brighton team. But yeah, I don't know. It's difficult. It's a difficult thing. Caicedo's, he's a great talent. He you know, he would make any team better, I would say, in midfield, any Premier League team. So yeah, but I know why Brighton are digging their heels in, especially this late in January. And they could very realistically qualify for Europe for what might be the first time in their history. I don't know, but certainly the first time since I've been alive.
I think they might have been in Europe once before, but don't quote me on that. I think they might have done, but if this is their first qualification for Europe, fair play to them, because it's generally more believable as well. They look more believable to go to Europe than I actually think. And I'm not saying this because I don't like Graham Potter. I think he's a good manager, but I actually think in terms of it, De Serbi actually looks more believable at Brighton. He's an absolutely brilliant manager. Like, what he's done for them, he's so disciplined. But unlike Graham Potter, it's not just discipline, but it's actually better attacking football as well. When they were at Potter, it was always Nathan, in the best way, always called them the hipster football for a reason. But you actually get the hipster feel more with De Serbi, because the hipster style is actually good, aggressive football, but it's actually delivering. Potter didn't deliver a lot. He didn't really deliver a lot. He had good results here and there. But you wouldn't believe them to get in a top 8 position under De Serbi. You generally could. The only team that's actually stopping them is Fulham.
Just go back to Arsenal. What do we make about Jorginho potentially going to Arsenal here in the last? Do we think that makes any sort of sense for them?
I'm going to say this now. That is a brilliant move for Arsenal. I don't care. I don't care if Jorginho's on the decline, by the way. I think that's an absolutely fantastic move for their midfield. It gives them a player that can play in the 6th position in case Partey needs a rest, and he can play in an 8 role where he doesn't have to be overly mobile, but he can pass the ball in Odegaard, and Odegaard can just work his magic.
Yeah,
that's two positions covered for one player. Jorginho isn't overly brilliant, but he's actually, if you look at how he played under Sarri, he's going into a team now that actually fits the bill for him. It's the same style. It's just a little bit more on the pressing side. I actually think, obviously, I absolutely adore Jorginho, and there's not putting Italian bias here, obviously, from my side, of course, but I like Jorginho regardless. When he played at Napoli, he was brilliant. When he played at Chelsea, I've always thought he was consistent. He just gets a bit too much unfair stick at times. But if he goes to Arsenal, he's winning a Premier League title, and he's actually going to be in a good position where he can do well in Europe next year in a team that fits the bill. I hope he goes. Fair play to him. It's a good move.
What do you think about Jorginho potentially for Arsenal?
Well, I'm a little bit mixed on him. I mean, he's 31 years old. In terms of his, passing is obviously exceptional. I've got his stats in front of me, where he's in the 88th percentile for pass completion per match, but he's also in the 88th percentile for tackles and interceptions. So he's a good player at winning the ball back and keeping the ball and also progressing the ball. He's in the 91st percentile for progressive passes. But on the negative side, it's about the running, and it's about the fact that he's only in the 28th percentile for headers won, which obviously he's a slight kind of guy. He's not there to head the ball away. But I just wonder if Arsenal would become a little bit more bullyable with Jorginho, from set pieces and things with Jorginho as opposed to Thomas Partey. But yeah, it does make sense as cover. If he's happy to be a squad player at Arsenal, not necessarily starts, then yeah, it's a good move. I don't know if Arsenal could do better at this, in January to get a number 6. So yeah, it does make sense.
Even if it's a short-term option for someone in the summer, like it's 6 months of very strong cover. I mean,
yeah,
ready made too.
Secure the title, to be honest, and then build for it further and get it in temporarily.
Owen, I'm going to let you start with this because I know you have a very strong opinion on it. Your opinion on Chelsea's spending spree so far in January?
I want to know your opinion, Josh, as a Chelsea fan as well, because for me, it's if it's not cheating, then what is it? Because there are two things. If you're spending, how much is it? 500 million already. That's a bit sick, to be honest. But
until these signings are complete, they've spent 485 million since Bowley took over. They've spent 216 million the January transfer window alone to date. Until Caicedo and potentially Enzo Fernandez are signed, they'll take up to the 600 million mark.
It's ridiculous.
It's disgusting because you can build a new hospital for 370 million pounds. I looked into it. I looked at the prices. So there is a sickness, we're really seeing football as its own little bubble. And it's big business. But the idea of just, buying everybody and gazumping everybody and having no kind of checks means that what happens if Chelsea don't get into Europe, not just this season, but next season? When I say Europe, I mean the Champions League, which could well happen. I mean, there are a hell of a good, there are a lot of brilliant teams in the Premier League, and there's no saying that all of these new players are going to gel. So, yeah, all kinds of things could happen, but I just think it's not fair to just buy how many players, 10, 12. I've got a list somewhere in front of me. I can't remember which page it is, but I'll bring it back up to go through the list. Have you got a list there, Josh? What do you think of it?
Yeah, we've spent a ridiculous amount of money, and for me, this is like really big risk and reward. So much like risk on the line here because you go and spend all this money. So there's no way you go out and spend that much money in June and July when the transfer window opens because I just don't see us going and spending that much money. And my biggest concern is that, we send all of these players who, let's be honest, are all question mark players. We don't really know if they're going to succeed in the Premier League. Will they be sent into the Premier League or are they going to be as good as their value is? You bring them in and say they're all subpar players, then where do you go from there? Because you've got all these bunch of players that you spend a ton of money on that you haven't really got any investment back into the squad from. And then you probably will have financial fair play knocking on your door at some point. I do think that's going to come back to haunt us at some point. I know right now it's all quiet and stuff, but I'm 99% convinced it will come back at some point to hurt us. So, you send these players, you spend 500 million on this new squad that you rebuild, and once the Graham Power doesn't succeed with most of the players not good enough, and the owners don't have the money to spend to again buy new players in. So it could lead Chelsea into a really precarious situation. You're put a lot on the line and a lot on these young players to go through the door, but we need to spend players, but I think we're spending the money wrong. Like you still go and spend 200 million on two players. I disagree with that. Because like there's that Benfica player, like 120 million for that one player from Benfica is just wrong. It's just wrong. He's not worth 120 million.
Well, you've got seven. You brought 7 players in just in January, right? I've got the list here. David Fofana, Badia Shiel, who's very highly rated. I was speaking to lots of people who work in football in France about Badia Shiel from Monaco. Like, what a great talent he is.
You've definitely got links to L'Equipe as well, I bet.
Sorry, I missed that.
You've definitely got links to L'Equipe as well.
I did have a journalist student there, but I haven't spoken to him for a while. But Andre Santos as well, Joao Felix, Mudryk, Nodi Madueke from PSV, great talent, and Malo Gusto is a very solid player, and the talk of another 200 million on Enzo Fernandez and stuff. It's just like it's a bit sick. I'm sorry, it's a bit sick.
I said, what was it these players do not succeed? And you spend all this money for nothing. And
it's not just that as well. That's really annoying as well. The one thing that's really annoying me is I know a lot of people are questioning about FFP in the live chat. Chelsea are actually very, very clever, and this is what really annoys me. Chelsea, for the entire Badiashile Mudryk's contracts, they will not get punished by financial fair play. They won't, because of they're using a legitimate banking method where over the course of Badiashile's contract or Mudryk's contract, for example, 120 million or whatever it costs, right? Per season alone, it costs 17.5 million for Mudryk over for a season. And the reason they're doing that is a legitimate banking method where it's spreading the cost. So it's literally for the entire of his contract, they can never be punished. Like Todd Bowley, clearly, obviously he runs like an NFL team as well. So he's well aware about the fact it works in the American League, in American football. It's such a legitimate method. He's now bringing it to England. He's now brought it to Chelsea. They've brought some fantastic young players who, for the length of them, even if it works out or doesn't work out, it's spread the cost so well, they can continue to spend on improving the squad, improving the stadiums and the facilities where they will never legitimately be punished. I absolutely hate the bastards for this because it's such a legitimate, brilliant move. You can hate the spending, and by all means, I hate it as well. But it's absolute genius what they've done. I hate it, but it is it's a genius method, and it's legitimate.
Legitimate, yes, in that they've got legal people working on it who are very highly paid to make sure that it passes through all of the legal tests, right? Because that's what good lawyers do. Look at Manchester City is another one. How are they the highest earning football club in the world, which they are according to the Deloitte thing? It's like, like from the outside, it's pretty clear that there is not just a cooking of the books. They've been marinating them first and burning them to a crisp. Like what does legitimate mean, really? I mean, yes, okay, legal, but is it fair? Is it just? Is it teams like Cardiff, for example? I mean, in a fair and just world, Nathan, Cardiff City should be able to climb up the football pyramid. But the longer that you have more and more super clubs run by states and run by, people who we have no idea of their track record and who they really are and who they are, involved with. And I'm talking about FSG and Todd Bowley and the likes. Like, we don't know who these dodgy people are linked to or not, or if they're dodgy or not.
And the Glazers, don't forget the Glazers.
The Glazers, yeah. But you see, Nathan, you must feel like cut adrift from this nonsense, and it's not fair. It's illegitimate, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and we have obviously felt like this for years. But there's for me, the Premier League is now, because it used to be a few years ago that you had some decent owners in the Premier League, and then the bottom half or so, a few of them were patchy, and then in the Championship, you had some decent owners who were building something special to go up. But now it just feels like in the Premier League, every single team has a good owner. Obviously, Glazers pumping in money. Yes, you could say the same about FSG not doing the best. Same with the Glazers. And then you just have the Championship that's split between some all right owners who are redeveloping, rebuilding, who have obviously just taken over. And then you have some that aren't the best. And like, for example, League One is just a graveyard for very, very poor ownership. Look at the size of some of the clubs down there. You have your Derbys, your Sheffield Wednesdays. You had your Sunderlands down there for a few years, Coventry. And then you have the same up in the Championship as well, where you got Bet365, Vincent Tan. Those ones at Swansea, even though I think they're actually doing okay, even though, well, all the Swansea fans have a fit about them, even though there's a lot worse than them. Blackpool with their ownership problems. Yes, they got new owners now, but they're not cash rich like the riches of the state sponsorships, oil money, and all that as well. And something needs to be done badly. And I think in particular, as I've said many times before, the football owner fitness test, which should have been brought in 10 years ago and would have solved a lot of problems. Now it's in. I still don't think the EFL are doing enough to contain these shocking ownerships. And if I'm honest, the only model that there should really be is the 50+1 rule. I mean, that has its positives and negatives, but I do think that another way that you can look at it is that the main fan supporter group should be able to veto a decision that the board makes. So say, for example, a disastrous one. Oh, Cardiff City turned into red. The biggest fan club of that supporter group should be able to block it. And could you imagine the amount of problems in football that would solve?
True. Just by trusting the fans more. Exactly.
So a couple more things to go through before we round it up. The first one is Anthony Gordon going to Newcastle from Everton. Reese, this is a sour taste in the Everton's fans' face because the way he left that club was probably the worst way you could leave a football club, especially when it was your boyhood club, the club you came for the academy. This is one of the club you support for thick and thin, and he basically just stitched them the second Newcastle came calling.
To be fair, I think if I was an Everton fan, I'd be smiling that Gimp is gone. I think he's massively overrated. I don't know how anyone can genuinely believe Anthony Gordon is a good football player. Like, my gran, right, can barely walk, and she would be a better footballer in that Everton side than Anthony Gordon ever could. Legit. I don't think he's ever been that good. And I was actually on, funnily enough, at the start of the season, when we played Everton towards the first part of the season, it was a channel I was on that I regularly feature on, and we done an Everton preview, and I literally slated him black and blue. I genuinely think he's overrated. I don't think he's that good at all. I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't have him in my team. I don't think he's that good. I would have him working at Tesco or at KFC, Not that it's a bad job, but it's his level. I genuinely think he absolutely sucks. So if I was an Everton fan, I'd be like, that 45 million. Do not put it in Mashiri's hands. Invest it in the squad. Get some defenders in. Get a striker in. They need goals. And get somebody to complement. The winger they signed from Bayer Leverkusen.
Have they got a good player? I don't know. In general,
I remember his name, but that's mental. I still think Everton have got the capability to sign someone. Like, I think they still, even though they're in that relegation zone, they're still in a. The mad thing is they still have a pool. Like, annoying thing, I know I say that about Everton, but they can still attract a decent player. They definitely need signings ASAP. Like, they do need a couple of defenders. They need a midfielder or something, because they cannot keep relying on Iwobi. And they definitely need to get like a couple of attackers in, because Dwight McNeil and all that is not working out either. Neil Maupay is useless. Like I don't know how many times I have to say that about him. And I'm sick of saying this as well. Frank Lampard clearly does hate Italians, because why the hell did he not give Moise Kean a chance?
That was ridiculous. I mean, who plays him over Dominic Calvert-Lewin Or why did he sign Neil Maupay when everyone knows how good he was at Brentford in the Championship? Yes, he did miss a few open goals, in particular against Welsh clubs, but at the end of the day, he completely flopped at Brighton, even though like loads of the Brighton fans and in particular neutrals alike said, "Oh, Brighton would have been in the top 6 if they had a striker." They had a striker. They had multiple strikers. It's just they didn't know how to use them properly.
Exactly.
I think that's the case with Maupay. Like, there's
Damari
really
Graves. That's what I was trying to remember. Damari Graves. I was trying to remember. Another thing as well, actually, that
properly.
Onana's not been particularly great, although he's actually been a decent player for them. But I've just seen as well, and you're going to laugh at this, Josh. And I mean, you're really going to laugh at this. So Chelsea are obviously moving for Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, right?
Yeah.
They've sold Anthony Gordon for 40 million plus. It's going to be like 40 million, 25 million plus whatever in add-ons, right? Guess who Everton want to sign for Sean Dyche as his first signing to improve the team? Yeah, 45 million on Conor Gallagher.
What a waste of money!
That was gonna be my next player to ask you something. I think that's.
We may as well come on to it now. Conor Gallagher is at least 20, 25 million at best. Like, he's not a bad player, but he's not tearing up trees. He was doing really well at Palace because it's a level that suits him. He's going into. I think Everton actually might suit him. Like, they can easily build. They could build a team around him really well. I think he's a decent player. But 45 million is absolutely funny. Like, he's not worth that in any way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the thing I've got to go with Conor Gallagher is I think his level is literally Crystal Palace. I mean, we did see the quality that he produced for that team, but as we've seen him for Chelsea, I don't think he's there. Like, the way he just doesn't fit.
Well, Wi-Fi hates me that much for attacking Everton. Wow.
I think we lost both of you then for a second, but back to Gallagher,
I was pure attacking them. Like, it's so wrong. It's so wrong. Get Wesley. Why not go and try and get some leads? Go and get Weston McKennie from Juventus.
Exactly.
He makes much more sense. They need a box-to-box midfielder. I would generally go for Weston McKennie.
I think you have to be mad to join Everton, though. It's such a toxic place to be. You know, the fans, it's the weird delusion of the fans that they're way above their station, going back to the Sam Allardyce point from before. Everton fans think that they're a Champions League club in waiting who have just been somehow unlucky to not win a trophy since 1995. It's nothing to do with luck. They're just rubbish. So if they can persuade Conor Gallagher to come, I think he's better than what they've got. I mean, Abdoulaye Doucouré there's a wonderful player in there somewhere with the right manager can get it out of him. But you know, obviously not Lampard. You know, Conor Gallagher, apparently his pass completion is 76.7% over the past year, which for a central midfielder is very, very bad. It's the 20th percentile. So 80% of midfielders are better at passing the ball. And that's you know, that's objective number one for a midfielder. What's his stats based on pressures? Are you able to get like his stats on pressures, for example? Well, pressing stats are hard to judge because it's like from when do you judge them from? But
say just the last year alone.
Just in the last year, his tacklings, he's in the 49th percentile, interceptions 64th. Blocks is very good. He's in the 91st percentile. And then 50th percentile for clearances and aerials. So, you know, headers and stuff. So there are a lot worse players defensively, but there are also a lot better, you know. So obviously Dyche is a glass half full kind of person.
Yeah.
But I mean, what he's good at taking people on and getting into good positions. So, you know, he receives the ball in good positions a lot, Conor Gallagher.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do much with it really.
He'd be a decent number 10 for them in a way of like, not for the creativity side, but like maybe like a Lingard number 10 in a way where he can press the ball, which can cause pressure, which allows other players to push up and allow midfielders behind them or the wide players to be the most effective side. He could be the one, but I'm just in that space. I'm just going to attack you. That could work. I think Sean Dyche he should not be playing 4-4-2 with this team. He's got to go with. I think personally, he has to go with a 4-2-3-1. Get Onana in the base of midfield. Get someone in beside him, and if they do send Gallagher, put Gallagher in the 10 role, and just get maybe McNeil and Damari Gray on the wide positions. Alex, or even put Gallagher in the midfield beside Onana. He could play the 8 role. Maybe put Alex Iwobi as the number 10. Like.
Yeah, Iwobi needs to play. I think he's their best player. 5
He's
assists
been amazing for them, yeah.
and 1 goal. But Gray, 3 goals, 1 assist. Anthony Gordon, 3 goals, no assists. They're their best. They're their 2 top scorers in the Premier League. That's absolutely awful. So yeah, I mean, with a striker, I mean, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's got 1 goal in 670 minutes in the Premier League, which is no good. Like his fashion sense, But there you go. I don't know. I can talk about Everton for ages, but somebody stop me.
To be fair, so can I. I mean, look at the contrast between Calvert-Lewin's goals compared to Moise Kean. That's all I'm going to say. Frank Lampard, why did you not give him a chance? Carlo Ancelotti brought him in because Carlo Ancelotti recognises good talent.
Lampard in.
A couple more things. I can see to PSG probably best for both parties. Siak hasn't done it at Chelsea, and maybe just needs to go somewhere else. So probably a decent backup option for PSG. Yeah, no one probably disagrees with that. Reese, obviously you wanted to talk about Gattuso being sacked at Valencia.
Yeah, I mean, that, considering how well they were at the start of the season, and they were generally playing really well, like Gattuso was getting Cavani into good form as well, like scoring goals for him regularly. They were playing really well. Wow.
I mean, the only reason they're relevant is because everyone has to pass their own ground on an away day. So
yeah, but it is quite bizarre, like how much is unfolded for Gattuso at Valencia. But one other thing that's potential as well is I don't think it'll be long before he's back in a job, because Pioli's doing horrible at AC Milan right now.
True.
After winning the league last year, it's not been in good form. I would not be surprised if Pioli ends up getting sacked and Gattuso goes back to Milan.
But 5-1 loss to Sassuolo there at the weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, 5-2. But it's also like there was 4 goals disallowed for Milan as well. Like that really does set the tone, and it's the first time back to back that Milan have conceded 4 or more in a league game in Serie A in their history. It's never happened before. But it's quite evident the drop off when Tatsaranu is utter shit in goal. Mike Mainan is such a massive loss. Like, he's such a massive loss in goal. If they don't get him back for the Spurs game, we're generally fucked. And I don't say that often about a Spurs team, but generally we are screwed.
Yeah, it looked like I saw the highlights of Milan Sassuolo earlier today. It looked like the keeper like through the game or something, because he was absolutely awful. Just
his pants
in the near post and in the center of the goal. It was, I don't know, gave me Mignolet vibes, Carriers vibes.
Generally, that's what I was having in my head. I was like, we cannot tolerate this.
Just one other thing. Reece, Felipe going to Nottingham Forest from Atletico. That's a good sign for Forest.
That's a brilliant move for them. That's a brilliant centre. That's an experienced centre back at the highest level. Like, that is, and one of the reliable players, funnily enough, for Simeone, since Simeone's been in the job. Felipe has always been ever present for him, whether it be on the field or off the bench. So the fact they've already got Ren and Lodi on loan, now they're bringing in Felipe. Yes, he's into his 30s, but that's still a very experienced move, and this might actually keep Forest up now. I think he generally could keep them up.
A question has came in on my Twitter feed saying, do you think Cardiff City are going to stay up this season?
No idea. Absolutely no idea. I mean, I do really rate getting Sabri Lamouchi in. I mean, it's an absolute miracle how we've actually employed a manager, which they have refused to do since last September. Like, I can see why they've also brought back Sol Bamba as the assistant manager to sort of unite the fan base, which has been toxic for years, and you can't beat around the bush for that. But the fact that there's also no sign-ins coming in, because obviously we got these free transfer embargoes, is just worrying. And like, I really don't know. As much as I really want it to work, I just really can't tell if it is, just because of the current squad. But I just don't know. I really, really don't know. Confidence is low. Fans are still toxic. Where do we go from there? Yeah, I agree.
He's definitely not as quick as he used to be, but I think just the composure he's got is what will help Forest. Like, that composure will definitely help.
They're in for John Joe Shelby as well, apparently. He had a medical today.
He did.
Good luck.
Madness.
That is going to be hilarious.
Can't wait for them to play Chelsea.
Oh, a question also came in for Owen. So saying, do you think does he think Salah Mane is any part of Liverpool's demise, since the attacking prowess of them has disappeared? Salah hasn't been his usual self. You haven't really got a number 9 since Nunes is going to take time to get used to the league. Did Salah Mane maybe hurt Liverpool more than people thought?
I mean, not really, which it might be an unpopular opinion, I suppose. But no, I mean, Sadio Mane, his best days are behind him. He's absolute Liverpool legend. I cannot tell you how much I adore the guy, because I do. But, you know, in terms of just the underlying numbers, Darwin Núñez has scored more goals at this stage of this season, despite how shit we've been, if you excuse the swear word, but there's no other word for it. Despite how rubbish we've been, Darwin is actually outscoring at the same rate as Sadio Mane from last year. So if we're swapping a left-sided attacker for Darwin Núñez, then we haven't missed him. No, it's just there are a number of factors. The main one being that too many of our players can't run. Not just Sadio Mane.
A couple more questions before we're done from people. Reese, this question's for you. This is Rangers related. Opinions on Todd Cantwell signing for Rangers?
Overrated player, but he'll do something in Scotland.
I actually like the signing, Todd Cantwell. I actually think he's a decent player. I mean, a couple of years ago, he was being marketed at like 30 million because he had a brilliant season for the Strippers. But in all fairness, though, like, he has declined a little bit. So the fact that we've got him for so cheap is actually brilliant, because now we can resurrect his career. He's going to play European football as well, so that's even funnier. Could replenish his career, and the fact that he's got players beside him as well that are coming back, like Yanis Hadji played for the first time in 374 days at the weekend after a very long injury. He's finally returned, so there's another player in that. Tom Lawrence is due to return. Rabi Matondo, who's had a bit of a mixed season. Ryan Kent, shockingly, even though he's an absolute clown, is turning things up a little bit. He's starting to hog the ball less. He's actually playing more for the team. Todd Cantwell in that number 10 position, with all the players around him, is actually a very smart signing, and I actually credit Michael Beale for that. And the fact that we got him so cheaply out of Norwich as well, when he's out of favour under David Wagner, has certainly helped. If this had been Dean Smith, we would never have got him. But the fact it's under David Wagner, it really does give us something as well. It gives us someone who's still young, nurture him really well. We can play him on the left side as well if we need to. It's rotation, play Hadji in the 10 role, or Hadji can play on the right in competition with Matondo and Scott Wright. We generally have 2 or 3 players for the front 4, particularly the wide midfielders and the number 10. I really do like it. I rate Todd Cantwell. I really do. I think he's a good player, and I'm generally buzzing that he's come to Rangers. And yeah, he is. He will be one of the main guys for us. We are still looking at a few other players as well. Like, we're looking at Raskin from Swansea. I think Nathan would actually be happy if we signed him, because that would fuck up Swansea massively. I think Raskin is a brilliant player. We are trying to get another fullback as well.
I'm pretty sure you're trying to go for Morgan Whittaker as well.
We are looking at Morgan Whittaker as well, and I would
That
generally
would be a phenomenal signing. That was
that would also spell the end of. I think I would probably that would spell the end for Morelos as well.
Easily.
I mean, Morelos is still a quality striker, but he has these moments where his temperament really can be a decisive factor in the team. My only concern, though, is we're still not looking at one position that's key. We really do need a goalkeeper. McGregor's getting on. Like, John McLaughlin's a decent goalkeeper, but he isn't going to be. He cannot take the team on. McCrory as well, good goalkeeper, but I don't think he's going to step up to the number one role. We really do need a number one goalkeeper that can come in. It is comfortable playing the ball with his feet, but is also a good shot stopper. If we can do that as well in the summer, that'd be great. And the last thing as well we're looking at, and that's massive, two other positions, sorry, that's massive, is a centre back, and we are looking at potentially try to find a right back that will compete with Tavernier, because he is getting on, and for all the goals and assists he gives every year, he's the top scoring fullback of the past decade, which is scary for a football player. He is going to play where we will need to replace him, but not in terms of Todd Cantwell. Fantastic young player. He's got potential in him. Yes, he's had a drop off, which is unfair, but it happens in football. But he's coming to a club where he's going to have 50,000 chanting his name, obviously, and being behind him at Ibrox. It's a great move for him. He's got so much potential. It can help him get back into the England under 21 setup, obviously, and then get into the England setup further down the line. I generally mean that. This is a good thing for him. It's a good way to restart his career, and European football will definitely help him and challenge him for trophies. So I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with Todd Cantwell. I really am.
A question for Nathan. It says, please ask Nathan on what team he is most surprised by in the championship this year.
It's a difficult one. I'd probably say Burnley, really turning it around so quickly under Vincent Kompany. We're going to probably name a few others there, literally because if you're even
Middlesbrough,
who remembers Dan at the start of the season, he said he'd be happy not even making the playoffs. And look at how well they performed. Middlesbrough, as Reese has said, absolutely rocketing under the league under Carrick. Really poor start under Chris Wilder, but the way that they have shot up straight up into third is fantastic. And even then, Carrick could just do something in the Premier League with this side. Another one has got to be Huddersfield's drop off from last season. Yes, it was predicted, but yeah, them down in 22nd is something quite shocking as well. Sunderland up in 9th, another shocker too. And then obviously Cardiff City in 21st, considering the size of the clubs down there as well. You've got to say, there's another one. That is a major shocker. Even Blackburn cementing themselves in the playoffs.
Last question for you, Owen, and this actually quite a good question. He says, as far as I can remember, you live in France and you obviously follow the French league. Do you think the French league's quality is starting to improve? I started watching on BT, and over the last couple of years, I feel like the quality, especially in terms of young players, is starting to improve. You take PSG out of it, and it's actually quite a decent league with quite a few decent teams who are probably in the shadow of PSG. But when you're watching teams who are not PSG play each other, you actually see the quality that the French league does possibly have.
It's got the best value in Europe for transfers. And if I was a big club, I would just try and make Liga my sort of feeder league, because, it's not by chance or some kind of fluke that France keep either winning major tournaments or getting to the final of major tournaments, the national team. Because the talent pool here is deep and gloriously refreshing. It's you've got players in all clubs. Like I watched Reims, the capital of Champagne country, against PSG, and last night I think it was, or 2 nights ago. Time is a bizarre concept for me these days, but they were very good and they very organized. They have a 30-year-old manager, and he's He's Belgian and British. He's got 2 nationalities, and his name is Will Still, which is an excellent name. And I think you need to, there's so much good stuff going on in Liga. It's worth keeping an eye on. It's the only other league I keep an eye on. And yes, because I live in France and, I work in football and people keep telling me over the years, you've got to watch more Liga. And I'm taking them seriously now, and I am watching Liga more and more. And it's freaking great. There are so many brilliant players that, you could pick up. Seiko Fofana. If you don't watch Lens,
Good example.
I mean, he's been kicking butt for years. And
Roman Cherky for me is another one that I really do like.
Yeah, Ryan Cherky. Yeah, he's a great talent.
It's even crazy that is Alexis Sanchez is doing really well at Marseille.
Very true.
Yeah, but I mean, people will look at that and think of that as proof that Liga's rubbish. But
it's not. It's not.
It's not. It's a renaissance of Alexis Sanchez as well. But yeah, I mean, the standard is below the Premier League, and some of the defending at times is pretty basic. But there's so many wonderful players there. It's really, really good to watch.
I really like that as an experienced player. I really do like Wissam Ben Yedder. I've always liked Ben Yedder.
Yeah.
I think he's a classy striker.
Yeah, lethal. Robbie Fowler-esque.
Reese, the final question's for you, but it's not football related if you're still okay answering it. And I think this guy has followed you from a different podcast you do. So, he says, Reese, I know this is a football podcast, but I want to ask you this. What is your opinion on Cody Rhodes winning the Royal Rumble?
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
All right. Whoever's asked this question, thank you. It's a good question. I'm genuinely pleased with it. I think it was a great decision. Also, I did the Royal Rumble watch along on the Weekly Armchair on Saturday night, 12 o'clock until literally 5. It was pure buzz. Generally, I'm happy with it overall. It was 25 past 5 if we wrapped up overall. But no, I really was happy with the decision. It's the right one, and I'm buzzing for it. So I'm looking forward to my WrestleMania watch along now.
There we go. So overall, on the 1 hour and 41 hour mark, that brings the end to the World of Football podcast for another night. Absolutely brilliant show. Obviously, loads of transfer talk. But primarily, this is what the show is going to be about, because I don't want to say it at the time, but I actually thought this weekend's FA Cup rounds was actually quite disappointing, because all the ties were basically Championship and League One teams playing each other. A lot of games went to replay. I think even the Arsenal City game was quite disappointing, because I think both teams had different ideas on how to approach that game. I think only really good FA Cup tie this one was probably Brighton Liverpool. And
what about Leicester versus Sheffield United?
The Wrexham game was generally good.
Wrexham Sheffield United was good, and then I think Brighton beat Liverpool at the end was quite good. But other than that,
I thought our game was good, but that's pure bias.
That's just bias, yeah. So I think other than that, it wasn't worth talking about. The issue was primary transfer target.
You know what was a good game of the? You know what else was a good game of the weekend?
What one?
The Chelsea game.
Oh yeah, there wasn't one. that's a little bad thing. So I thought it was a good show to bring you on as well, because I thought we would just sit down and basically just people talk loads of football with you, and get a lot of catch up what your thoughts were on it wasn't maybe for Leicester struggling against a lower league team. Owen, how did you find the show? Obviously not much has changed probably in terms of personality with us three. You enjoyed the chemistry and you enjoyed chatting a load of football with us.
Oh, never change, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm always delighted to be here. It's great to have, to hear all your views and to have a nice chin wag about the old footy. It's been an absolute joy. Thank you very much for the invite.
Just in terms of the League Cup games, I'm assuming everyone probably agrees it's going to be a United and Newcastle final.
Yeah,
we don't take Southampton or Nottingham Forest. Bring a nice one come back. So obviously, loads of pretty good football coming up this week.
I think Dembele is going to knock out Newcastle. I'm still saying Man United Southampton League Cup final.
All right, so in terms of this weekend, there's loads of football. So the Friday night football game is Chelsea and Fulham. Obviously, wasn't that long ago. Fulham and Chelsea played at Kieran College. So the replay is going to take place at Stamford Bridge.
Willian, he's scoring a goal.
We've got Sean Dyche's first game against Arsenal. That could be a big game. Obviously, new manager points at Goodison Park.
Everything
That
getting
could
trashed.
be a tough one for Arsenal.
Is it scary though that at 9:20 at 2100 hours 21 minutes or 9:21 if you will, is it not scary though to think that Sean Dyche could still pull something madness off against Arsenal? Because it'd be typical Sean Dyche.
Leicester City will travel away to Aston Villa. Southampton will travel away to Brentford. Brighton will host struggling Bournemouth. Manchester United will host Crystal Palace, who are not in the best form at the moment.
Revenge is coming. We are getting revenge.
Owen, quick prediction for Wolverhampton and Liverpool.
7-0 to Wolverhampton, probably. I've absolutely, Well, I don't know. That'll be that's sort of our level. So I'm going to say 2-1 to either team. But yeah, it's a 50-50 game.
I'm going 2 each.
Could easily happen.
The half-5 game is Newcastle and West Ham, and your two Sunday fixtures are Forest and Leeds, which is a massive game when it comes to the relegation fight, and then followed by Spurs and Manchester City. So loads of fantastic football coming up this weekend. Saturday is actually packed with football, so if you've got nothing to do on your Saturday, you're not exactly short on options. So, obviously, I've already said goodbye to Owen. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll definitely will have you on this podcast again very, very soon whenever you're free. And also, maybe also Reese can try and get you on a quiz on his channel at some point as well, because he is always
absolutely. We're going to do the next World of Football podcast quiz mid-May. So I think that'd be the perfect time. So Owen, if you've got nothing on in May, because you won't be in the Champions League final anyway, but in mid-May if you want, I'd love to have you on, because it'd be good to see someone actually, apart from Nathan, give Doug a go, because this bugger wimps out every time.
Well, no. Speaking of wimping out, I'm very bad at quizzes, but also I know I would love to be on there. I really would, but I'm actually expecting my first child in May.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you very much. Yeah.
If you call him Darwin though, remember you're looking for Charles Darwin. You want genius. You don't want Darwin missing open goals.
No, I mean,
I had to get that in there. I just had to. I do like Darwin though, but I just thought it'd be funny just to put one in there.
Well done. I mean, it's a toss up between Darwin and Jurgen, but we're in discussions.
We love it.
I don't know. You might name him. I don't recommend Michel, because obviously you live in France. You don't want UEFA on your neck.
That's right.
Obviously you already got my congratulations, but congratulations, obviously, in person for that amazing news. And said, definitely get you on the Pro podcast again. We'll probably look for next month. Maybe we'll try and make it a monthly guest or something if that works for you. Because I know you can't commit to coming on for me, but I think every month. I think these boys would love to have you on. Hopefully we'll get you on with Doug and stuff again at some point. Nathan, obviously Cardiff are back. You're back to depression next tomorrow night.
It's an absolute disgrace that they moved this game within a week. Well, less than a week's notice. Shocking.
I was just about to say that. Do you think you're going to win?
Hopefully. I've just lost all hope at this point. But I don't know. Sabri Lamucci's part of the army might be able to do something. You never know.
Everyone just go and send good wishes to Nathan in private messaging. I'm struggling here. I don't know. Like you just see that all happiness has been evaporated from him. So yeah, everyone, thank you so much for tuning into the Roll Football podcast. All social medias of these guys, and also George's. Unfortunately, George. I don't know why George hasn't been with us these last few weeks, but hopefully he'll be back at some point. He's a busy man. He hasn't said anything to us, but hopefully he'll be back soon.
He's been so silent. We haven't heard from him in quite a while, so I'm hoping that all is all right with him.
hopefully, next week's guest is unconfirmed. I have messaged a few people. We will either have Cup Council, so we'll have another Liverpool fan. We'll have Connor, the Welshman, so Nave will have a fellow Welshman to join him. Potentially Dan, Turf Muirhouse, the Burnley fan, will potentially be joining us.
That'll be a quality stream.
Maisie is another one who I've spoke to who might potentially be joining us. So
I had in mind. Yep.
Everyone, these are all potentials. None of them confirmed. Hopefully, will be. So, again, everyone, thank you so much. And also keep an eye on Owen's Twitter because I'll be going on the Cobham podcast when I did to arrange to talk about Chelsea from obviously my side on his channel. So, everyone, enjoy the rest of your weeks and hopefully you enjoy all the footage that comes up. Obviously, we pretty much get a bit of a break because these three cup games are actually irrelevant because they were done in the first leg. So. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the football the weekend. We'll see you next Monday night as we go over all the Premier League action. So take good care, guys, and see you later. Bye-bye.
I'm not holding back for anyone. I've been holding up forever. Waiting for the rain to come. Who am I to just surrender?